Anyway, welcome. It's great to see so many of you here. And as always, I'm delighted to see this because at one of the most important events of the year, our Meet the Teacher evening, the fact that so many of you are here shows me one very important thing. That you view your child's education as a partnership between your child or children, the school, and yourselves. This is crucial in helping our children to grow as individuals so that they get to face new and exciting challenges that the world will throw at them with competence and confidence. One significant difference that I'm sure we're all aware of between the world that our children live in and the one that we are all most probably more familiar with is the fact that the phenomenon of change is now such a high-profile phenomenon, more so than ever before. Perhaps it was simply the fact that we didn't recognize this as a key variable in our lives, or perhaps the pace of change has increased exponentially so that it has forced us to consider change in the preparation of our children. But whatever the reason, we now know that our children face a world that is changing rapidly, and we need to prepare them for this from as early on as we can. Our school values are all about developing a mindset within our children that will help them overcome challenges, help them work collaboratively with an eclectic range of people, and contribute positively to society. As you will be aware, last year we focused on our value of collaboration. And this year, we've decided to focus on creativity. Creativity does not simply refer to the arts, which may be the first thing that we think about when considering this word, but rather, in the context of our values, it refers more specifically to the way that we think. Thinking creatively means to us thinking outside the box, considering different ways of approaching problems, and working together to generate new ways of viewing and facing the world. A lovely clip I saw on YouTube the other day was about a teacher admonishing a child for getting the simple maths problem 2 plus 2 wrong. The pupil disagreed with the teacher that the answer was 4, instead choosing 22 as his correct answer. Of course, this sounds ridiculous to us, but the greater message of this clip was that it is difficult and indeed wrong to presume that all that we know is right and can be passed on to the younger generation. Young people are now accustomed to receiving information in different forms, some realistic and others less so. The phenomenon of fake news is a phrase that has crossed the Atlantic in recent times, which highlights the need for us to consider carefully where information comes from and the validity of its source. This is the world that our children are now living in, one where information is often compromised, and they need to learn how to differentiate between that which has real meaning to them and that which does not. And this requires creativity and critical thinking, and these are both skills which need to be learned. As teachers, we need to be aware of this. Children interpret things in a variety of ways, and indeed, sometimes their perception, although seemingly crazy to us, holds truth for them. The trick to good teaching is to foster this creativity, unpick where it comes from, and guide the children into a critical way of thinking that allows them to determine the truth for themselves. This is the basis of creativity and the basis of what we will be focusing on this year. Tied into this is the concept of growth mindset. When I asked the children in assembly last week what they felt a growth mindset was, one boy responded that it was the way that we grow our brains to get more knowledge and ideas. And in his own way, he'd hit the nail right on the head. Our children grow their knowledge through their own interpretation of the world, and it is our duty as educators to provide our children with the tools in order to more effectively understand the world around them with an open mind. No doubt, you will have your children coming home this year from time to time, encouraging you to consider their actions with more of a growth mindset. And sometimes, of course, this will be valid. But sometimes it could be a creative way of removing themselves from a situation which is unfortunate that they found themselves in. Over the past couple of years, we have endeavoured to provide different opportunities for our children to explore their own understanding of the world. With a growing focus on this way of delivering education, starting right down in our foundation stage, we have so far been highly successful in doing so. Last year, our focus was on collaboration, and we put into place things like cooking in Bush School to help them develop greater skills in the collaborative areas. These activities will of course continue. However, by thinking creatively ourselves, we hope to bring elements of creativity into the lessons so that our children become natural problem solvers and proactive learners. And this is what's important to us. Make no mistake, the academic performance of all of our children remains a high priority, as it always should be. And this is something that you as parents can expect from us as a school. But where we differ from other schools is that we believe that by providing the correct foundations for learning, the high academic standards become more of a symptom of good learning than the final objective. International education, I believe, is exactly this: a view into the international community that gives us a lens into the world, not just a narrow performance indicator that our end-of-year testing reveals. Another key aspect of international education is the building of respect for ourselves and others that transcends gender, race, and economic status. The most successful businesses, schools, and organizations are those that are founded on a deep level of respect and understanding of people. And at St Andrews, this is something that we wholeheartedly believe in. Of course, respect is also one of our core values, but rather than holding this as a focus value for the year, we believe that this value should always maintain a high level of focus throughout the year. It is something that we believe we should embody all of the time, becoming more about who we are rather than something that we focus on for a brief period. In other words, this is a value that we should live out in all of our actions rather than just talk about it. So once again, we have invested heavily in our early years department so that we can begin building the values from the ground up. You may have noticed that we have expanded this department and developed purpose-built facilities for our youngest students. We have staffed the department with highly skilled early years practitioners who understand the pedagogy of this important phase. We have found over time that the children that come into our nursery and grow up through the school are consistently those who exhibit great learning skills. And these are clearly an influence from a lengthy and comprehensive education and learning journey. But we also recognize the importance of this journey, being a partnership between parents, teachers, and the children themselves. For this purpose, we have spent time over the past couple of years working out the best ways that we can interact with you all and involving the children in these interactions. For example, last year we ran a trial where the children in one class conducted consultations with their parents, empowering them to showcase their learning, something which is deeply important and resonant with growth mindset principles. And this year in Term 2, we plan to hold a school-wide child-led consultation. And that's something that you can all look forward to. It can be highly successful. And this year too, we're completing our children's journeys through primary school with a leap into the international sector. Our Year 6 residential trip this year will be held at a purpose-built outward bound facility in South Africa. This is not only an exciting milestone for the school, and evidently for you, but a milestone and a way of celebration for our children too, as they culminate their primary school journeys with a trip of a lifetime. So as we enter another year at St Andrews, the wheels of change do not stop turning. We can't afford for this to happen. The world is changing, and we need to keep pace with it. We don't fear change, and we certainly don't face it with trepidation. But rather, we embrace it, and believe it or not, we look forward to it because it is who we are. We are a school that is preparing young people for a changing and dynamic future. And as such, we need to embody the ethos of change as much as we can. Change drives us, it stimulates us, but most of all, Change defines us. It is who we are. So tonight is about the teachers giving you a lens into what your child will experience this year. There will, of course, be routines and schedules, for without these, the school can't run effectively. But most of all, the experiences that we are putting in place for your children should all be creatively considered so that we know we are doing our utmost to prepare your children for a bright future. Please enjoy the evening. Feel free to ask questions and put forward your thoughts and opinions. And thank you for coming in and joining the partnership for yet another year at this wonderful school. Thank you.